In this video, I'm going to share 4 easy tests any runner can do at home without fancy equipment to check the muscle strength and control in their legs. I am using this video as a little bit of a kick up my own backside because I am currently training for a marathon. I want to do a PB in October, and I've been really good with my strength training up until about a month and a half ago, and now I've fallen off the wagon. So I need a bit of a kick up my backside because I can feel things are not going right, and I need that motivation to get back to the strength training again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Maryke. I'm one of the physiotherapists from sportsinjuryphysio.com, where you can get online physiotherapy assessment as well as treatment of any type of sports injury. We do specialize in tendon injuries, and especially ones that's been going on for a long time, but we can assess and treat most types of sports injuries via video call. If you want to know more about the service, have a look at the description. I'll put a link to the website there. We'll kick things off with a really easy test, which is just a balance test. And I'm going to do 3 versions of it so that we can test it progressively. Now, why are we bothered with balance? These balance tests tells you a lot about your position sense. Position sense is when you close your eyes or you don't look where you're going, you still know where your feet are and your hands are. And that's because there are loads of sensors throughout the body that sends messages to the brain about where your body parts are, how they are moving, the speed they're going at. But your body also uses input from your eyes as well as your ears to really correct your movements. And we want to check how good that is because it's a very simple thing to retrain. And there is evidence that if your position sense isn't great, you're more inclined to sprain joints or get acute injuries like those. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the simple standing on one leg test. And we're picking this one because with this test, you get to use all your systems. We are focusing on one spot, which means we can use our eyes maximally. We're not moving our head, which means the ears are finding it easier to contribute to the balance. And we're just keeping everything still, which should give the brain the best chance to understand where everything is. So what you're doing is you just have your feet hip distance apart. Then you're going to have to shift over a little bit to have your weight on one leg, and you pick the other one up. Now, I prefer to have my leg backwards when I do this instead of forwards, because it's easier for me when I do it forwards. For some reason, it feels like I'm stabilizing myself. So I prefer to go back with the leg. Now, in this position, what are you looking for? It's okay to get some shift over to the side, but if you're getting a dramatic shift, it means you're compensating for muscle strength in your hip. Also, if you pick that leg up and you're getting a drop of your hip and you can't control it, it means you've got weakness in the glute med especially, but pretty much all the glutes contribute to that movement. So you want to be able to keep that level, and you want to check what's happening at your foot. Now, my feet and ankles are always a bit of a problem for me because I've got very flexible ligaments, but this one is getting a little bit of a wobble, but it's not too bad actually. But now look what happens on this side. So if I balance on this side, immediately my leg wants to roll in more, my foot, and I'm just struggling a little bit more. So I'm trying to compensate, but it doesn't quite work. And the balance is just not great on my right side. And this all stems down or comes down to an old back injury I had on my right side. And if I don't work on this on a regular basis, it creeps back. There we go. I've got my balance. Something that can help is if you bend your knee ever so slightly, it activates the muscles more, which makes it easier to balance then. There we go. So there's an obvious difference between the two. And I can't tell now because I can't see myself, but usually I tend to also have to shift further over on my right side. My right glutes are always weaker than my left, even though my right side is my dominant leg. So I have to constantly work on it. If I don't do strength training for a while, then the difference becomes quite obvious again. Now, the step up from that, if you had good balance on there, you could do it for 30 seconds without falling over and having relatively good control. Then the next motion up is we're going to start moving the head. And what happens here is, as soon as you move the head, your brain can't rely on your eyes as much. Still can use it, but not as much. And now the ears, the inner ear is being moved. So you see the effect there. So it just makes it a bit more difficult. So we'll start off by just balancing again. And then once you've got your balance, you start moving your head. And you can see it's a bit difficult for me on my left, but I can do it to an extent. To be honest, it's terrible this morning compared to what it normally is. I think my legs are just really tired. Let's see what the right looks like if that was the left. So if we're on one leg, there we go, getting my balance, and then I start turning my head. And to be honest, things have woken up and it's not too bad to start with, but if you notice what's happening in my foot, I'm really having to struggle to not, as I turn this way, collapse my arch in. So there's work to be done there. So the third version is going to be interesting now, because that's when you close your eyes. And what that means is that we can't use our visual system at all. And you'll be surprised to see how much of an effect that has. Now, if you're doing this at home, the best place to do it is in between, where door is, so that you've got something on both sides if you lose your balance. If you feel yourself going off balance, immediately open your eyes so you don't fall over. I'm just going to have my hand there for now if I need it. So you start off, balance on one leg, and then you close your eyes. And you see if you can hold that for 30 seconds without falling over. You can see initially it starts off okay, and then I really start losing my balance. Let's see what the right side can do. So I'll find my balance first and then close my eyes. And it starts off okay. And now you can see how that rolls in. My ankle is really struggling there. If you found the foot rolled in excessively, it can be an issue with the foot itself, that you don't have the control there. So strengthening your foot control can help. I find, to be honest, if you do the balance tests or the balance exercise as an exercise, it also strengthens your foot control over time. So you don't necessarily have to do specific exercises for that. But it may also be that because your hip control is so bad, it's forcing the leg in, and that's causing the ankle to turn in so much. So don't just blame the poor ankle if things are also happening here. If you saw your hip drop, it's the glutes that need strengthening. If you saw a massive shift, also the glutes that likely need strengthening. And it may also just be that you've not retrained or trained your system well, that you're getting all of this. So my advice would be, yes, general strength training can really help this, but you have to add in balance exercises in your session as well. And they can be as simple as doing 3 times 30 seconds on each leg, starting with the simplest versions that I've just shown. You can use those as exercises as well. The next test is just your calf endurance test. So we're going to do calf raises to see how many repetitions you can do in each leg. But we need to do them at a nice controlled pace and not just drop down, because then there's no control in that movement. Also, I would always wear shoes for this test, because if you're doing calf raises, especially on a hard surface, then it can really injure your metatarsal bones, the ball of your foot. And once that is sensitive and bruised, it takes a very long time to calm down. So whenever you're doing calf strengthening exercises as well, just make sure that you wear shoes for that. Now, because I'm wearing shoes, it means I'm not going to get the full range going up and down, because my heel is going to stop me. So you ideally want to do it over the side of a step. I don't have a step in here today, so I'm going to use a book, because that should give me enough leverage. But ideally a step is best, and somewhere where you can hold on to things, because it's not a balance test this. You need to know the pure strength, so you want to make sure that you're stable. Also, when you drop down below the level of the step, do not hang there. It's not meant to be a stretch. We're just going to lift up, lift down, and come back up again. So you're just going to, before you feel you need to change your foot position, that's where you stop and you raise back up. So let's see what I can do, left versus right. So we'll start on right first today. And you're lifting up and slowly back down, and then we're coming back up. So that's 2. Okay, so I reached 20 there, but I'm not convinced the last two was of good quality. I'll have to look at the recording afterwards. You only count the ones where you can lift nearly to full range and have good quality movement coming up and down. If you really struggle to start lifting and you only lifting a little bit, that doesn't really count. Let's see what the left can do. Okay, that was only 15 on my left side, and it got really, really tired compared to my right. Right is my dominant leg, so it's not surprising, but it means my left definitely needs some work. If you've managed to reach 15 repetitions on each leg, then it's okay, but ideally you want to reach at least 20. And the perfect is if you can do 25 in a row without any problems, then you're in a good place with your calf strength. You've got to also think about how tired are your calves today because of the things you've done before. So I'm not too worried about mine because I did do 2 runs that made me quite tired over the weekend. But ideally, even with that fatigue, I still want to be able to reach 20 because that means when I do my very long runs, my calves will last for longer. So for me, yes, single leg calf raises would be part of what I do to strengthen them, but because I could reach 15 or more on each side, I would do them with extra weight. And it's always best when you start adding weight and you've not done it before to go for very little at the start and just see what is the 24-hour response, because sometimes it is surprising how sore your calves can get after a strength training session, and then you mess up your training for the next few days because it's so sore you can't actually properly train. So I would say if you did manage to do 15 on each leg or more, then extra weight is the option I would go for. How many repetitions, how much weight? If you've never used weight before, I would go for something like only 3 kilos, even if it feels really easy, and do 3 sets of 10 to 15, depending on what you feel fatigues it. If you've already been doing whatever strength training with your calves, then go for something that makes you tired within 10 repetitions, because a 10 rep max tends to give you good strength in the calves. And with all the strength training stuff, if you're doing a high volume of running and your legs are quite tired, 1 session per week can be enough. But if you're still in the build-up phase and you're not really in your competition phase yet, then if you can manage 2 sessions a week, then you're going to get much better results from that. If you didn't manage to reach 15 repetitions at least on each leg doing this test, then you actually need to do the single leg calf raises as your exercise without any extra weight, and just do 3 sets of whatever you can manage until you get to 3 sets of 15. And only when you reach that, then I would add extra weight to it. Next up, we're going to do the single leg sit to stand test. And this is a brilliant test to see what your leg strength is like. It also challenges your balance. So if your balance isn't great, you're going to struggle a little bit with this, and you could just stabilize yourself with a finger on the wall at the start to see the strength effect rather than the balance effect. We'll see what happens when I do it. It is the one I'm the most nervous of because I think it's going to show up real strength deficits for me, which is good because I need to work on it. Ideally, you want to eventually be able to get up from sitting to standing on one leg from a surface that gives you about a 90-degree angle in your legs. So what do I mean? It's from this level, you're going to get up to standing on one leg. Now, a lot of people won't be able to do that. And especially if you've got sore knees at the moment, you won't be able to get up from that distance. So I am going to show you how you can make it higher. So until you find the level that's right for you. So for this test, I would actually warm up your legs a little bit just to make sure that they are awake and your knees are ready for all of this. If you're a young runner, you may think, oh, why do you need that? If you're like me, 46 years old, then the knees needs a bit of warming up before you do things like this. So all I do for warm up is I just do some air squats. Okay, warm up done. I'm going to show you from the side first, and then we'll look at it from front on, because what you want to look at is how your knee tracks in line with the middle of your foot. You don't want it to turn in like that when you do it, and you want your foot and ankle to be nice and stable, as well as good control going up and down. I don't think I'll be able to do it from this level. Let's see what happens. So we'll do the left side first. Ooh, nearly, but that's definitely a fail. Yeah, no, that's too low. Let's see what right can do. Oh, okay, right side is stronger, but you can see that I had to use momentum, and there's no ways that I could do too many of that. So I'm going to make it higher. I'm going to use this cushion and just see what difference that makes. Is that enough? Okay. Take balance out of this first and just see how it goes. Okay, not too bad. Okay, which leg do I want to do first? Let's go with left leg. I'm going to have a hand on the ball because my balance isn't great at the moment, and I'm more interested in my strength than my balance. My balance will improve as my strength improves as well. So we're going up, whoops, and slowly down. You don't want to plonk down. And up and down. That's 2. 9. And I'm going to stop there. So left leg, I could only do 9. Okay, so let's see what the right side can do. Whew, okay, so got to 10 just on the right side, so it is a bit stronger than the left. The idea is good control. I failed the control bit because I had to touch the wall for my balance, but my strength was the thing I was interested in. When you pass the test, you've got to do at least 15 repetitions on a single leg. That is pretty good strength in one go without holding the wall. Then you know you've got good control. If you could do 20, then you're in a really, really good place. Which means if I do this as an exercise, I would probably make the surface higher still so that it's just a little bit difficult, but not too difficult. Because honestly, I could feel I was using momentum by the end of that. So it needs to be somewhat challenging, but not too difficult that you're compensating. Also, I may actually just use double leg squats with weight to get my legs a bit stronger first and then transition into the single leg ones. So there's many ways to go about it, but you can't use this level as the strengthening exercise because this is too hard for me at the moment. But it gives me a good indication. I can retest it in 6 weeks from now and see what I could do. The last test we're going to do is going to be for the hamstrings and glutes, and it's going to be single leg high bridge test. Why do we want the high one? Because that is harder on the hamstrings. I would definitely do some isometric bridges beforehand to warm up for this. So what I tend to do to warm up is I just start off with a simple glute bridge and hold that for 20 seconds. Then I rest for 20 seconds and then I do a double leg isometric high bridge for 20 seconds. The isometric high bridge that we're doing as part of the warm-up has 2 functions. Yes, it warms up the hamstrings to get them ready, but it also gives you an opportunity to test if your bum is at the right distance from the chair. If you feel your hamstrings want to cramp, it means they're trying to work too hard and you need to move your bum closer, because the further your bottom is away from the chair, the straighter your legs and the harder the hamstrings has to work. So bring your bum in closer if you're feeling it wants to cramp. If you're trying to do the single leg ones and your hamstrings just want to cramp all the time, you can't actually do it, then do the test with your foot on the floor to start with, and you can eventually progress to the chair once you've done some strength training and got them stronger. Also, if you're pushing with your heel down onto the chair, it's going to use your hamstrings more than if you push against it. Make sure that the chair or whatever you use can't move away. I'm going to have to push down on the chair rather than against it at the moment, because otherwise my chair is going to slip. Let's see if I can have it like that. So we're looking to go up as high as you can, but without arching your back. You don't want to do that. Just stop there. And that's 2. Woo! I managed 15 on the right side, which I'm pretty chuffed with. But you'll find as you do them, you do tend to slide back. So I'm just going to move forwards before I do my left. Let's see. I had to reset a few times because my chair slipped, but I did manage to do around 15 repetitions on the left as well. So what is seen as good? Well, if you can do 10 in one go on each leg, it's okay-ish. Ideally, you want to reach 15, but if you want to know that you've got good strength, it should be at least 20 repetitions on each leg. And you would have noticed my bum was quite close to the chair, so I would want to see eventually that I can have my bum further back from the chair to know that my hamstrings are nice and strong. Brilliant. Hope you found that useful. I've definitely identified some areas I need to be working on, otherwise I may run into trouble for the marathon. If you've got any questions, please ask them in the comments. And if you need more help with an injury, you're welcome to consult one of the team via video call. The link to the website is in the description of this video. Take care.